Did you put Christmas on a credit card? Don't stress out about that extra holiday spending. SaveWithConrad.com can help you consolidate all of your high interest rate credit cards into one much lower monthly payment. SaveWithConrad.com has helped families just like yours save up to $800 a month. You don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket. And did I mention no payments until March? So don't make saving money a resolution next year. Make it happen today at SaveWithConrad.com.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, it's Conrad, the mortgage guy, and you're listening to Grilling JR with the voice of professional wrestling, Mr. Jim Ross. Jim, how are you, man?
Hey, if you're going to be the mortgage guy, can I be the barbecue guy?
Hey, I'm good with that. Jim, the barbecue guy. I like it.
Sound like a t-shirt to me.
Well, Merry Christmas, everybody. We greatly appreciate you guys spending Christmas Day with us. In total transparency, Jim and I are recording this on Christmas Eve's Eve. Jim, what do you got on deck for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day in Norman?
Conrad, it's going to sound sad. My kids are coming over on Friday. And so on Christmas Day, I'll be right here in Norman watching football or basketball or something. And that's pretty much my Christmas. It didn't sound too exotic. It sounds a little bit, poor JR is going to be by himself. I don't mind that because I'm making up for it the next day with my kids and grandkids and all that stuff. So, and they got a life. You know, when your kids get grown, we have to accept as parents that they have a life too, and you know, let them enjoy it. So I'll see my kids on Friday. I'll be here on Thursday, and enjoying the holiday and watching a little television. And there's a lot of sports on, so I'm cool. That's about the size of my holiday. But I hope everybody has a great holiday. Spend as much time as you can with your family. You never know when something's going to change those plans, and enjoy it. Eat a lot, and have fun and smile and laugh and be thankful for what you got. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to doing. I've had a unique year, Connie, and I'm just finally getting over it. So it still kills me to travel a little bit because I get stiff sitting in a chair, a seat, I should say. But you know, it's just the way it is. I got to heal, and I'm not healed yet.
You know, I know that we tried to keep it quiet. We weren't necessarily blasting all of your personal private information out there, but I don't think some of our listeners know like how what a bad way you were in just a few months ago. I'm just thankful you're still with us, Jim.
I am too, Connie. Thank you. I am too. There were days that I thought, well, my run is over. And I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to make it out of this physical thing, and it's been challenging. I miss Jan so much because she was my rock, and no matter how sick I got or whatever, how bad things were, she was always the shining light. And I don't have that shining light any longer, except for all the fans, friends like you, and Bull Ramos, Dave Silva, people like that I gravitate to, but I'm just not gonna. I got to get well, man. I got to get healthy, and you find yourself healing slower the older you get. That's not a revelation. People know that, but it's frustrating when you're the object of that statement.
Well, I'm glad to see you back out making appearances. I couldn't help but notice you were on the road this past weekend in Pittsburgh, sitting next to your great close personal friend, Jerry the King Lawler. I love seeing you guys doing your thing. And I think it was like a who's who up there in Pittsburgh, including Sting's last appearance with the paint. I bet that was well attended, Jim.
It was amazing. Sting had the longest line consistently of the entire event. Sergeant Slaughter was here. Lawler and I were the next. Nature Boy was the next, and then just a little bit away was Sting. but and it was he had the longest line all day. And I got a chance to visit with him for a little while on one of our breaks. Uh, just he was very happy. He was overwhelmed and proud of the line that he had and the support that he shown him. But we had it was like I said, an all-star game. We had, like I said, Sting was there, Flair was there, Kevin Nash was there, the Hardy Boys, Trish and Lita. I'm leaving out a ton probably, but those folks were all Mick Foley. So it was a who's who. And I think it kind of worked in reverse for the promoter because it was Christmas week. People had already done a lot of shopping, I'm sure. And they didn't come out in the droves like you would want, but it was cold, it was bad weather, windy, but still it was a decent crowd, but they just didn't spend much money. I felt bad for the promoter, but Lawler and I got paid and worked the same people, and but we've done business with them before where they made a lot of money. So it's just one of those deals. You have pride in your work and your reputation, and I wish I had done better for the guy, but I'm just being honest. It was what word am I looking for? It wasn't spectacular.
Underwhelming, maybe.
Underwhelming is exactly the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Well, Jim, I'm just glad to see that you're out there making those appearances. And since you were just hanging out with Jerry the King Lawler, I got to ask, earlier today, I was scrolling social media and I saw that I suppose the Memphis News went to check in on your pal, the King, and he did a nice sit down interview with them. But I think somewhere in the interview, he insinuated that he may have one last match left in him somewhere in there, I think is the phrase he used. And I'll admit, I did a double take thinking, wait a minute. I thought for sure he was officially retired. What do you think? Do you think we'll see Jerry the King Lawler do one last match?
Well, after being around him all weekend and loving him like I do, I hope not. I don't see how he could do it. He's like me. He doesn't get around real quick, and his balance is suspect. He loves the business so much. It's his life, Connie. It's his fucking life. And he's having a hard time separating from his long 50+ year established life to not. Hey, if he wants to have another match, and he can have another match, and if he had a match, I'd certainly support it, but I don't see it happening.
Well, we'll see what happens with Jerry the King Lawler, and we got our fingers crossed that he and JR are feeling better than ever in 2026. We want to hear from you. What are some of the things you hope for in 2026? Let us know in the comments below. We will be talking about our New Year's resolutions and our predictions for 2026 next week here on the program. But I thought, you know what? On Christmas Day, let's let people hear JR at his best, and let's ask JR anything.
Wow.
So we took to social media, and we had a whole host of questions come in.
You mean you got some feedback?
We got a ton of feedback. I don't know that we'll get to all the questions. In fact, I know we won't. But the number one question that I've got is, Jim, hypothetically, if you find yourself a wrestling fan like you and I, do you think World's End is going to be worth shaking a stick at this weekend for AEW?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an all-star. It's another one of those deals where you got a lot of people booked. Everybody's still trying to separate from the pack. I think that's a great philosophy. You want to be the best on the roster. And they got a bunch of guys that want to be the best on the roster. Tony Khan has put together a hell of a talent grouping. And so I think it'll be a hell of a pay-per-view. The only thing I would say with reluctance is it may be too much because it's a loaded son of a bitch.
What a card it is. We'll run through some of the matches right now. Chris Statlander and Jamie Hayter are going to be hooking it up for the AEW women's title. Speaking of the women, the Babes of Wrath are going to be defending their tag straps against Mercedes Moné and Athena. Speaking of tag teams, how about one for the Chicago Street Fight in the men's championship? It's FTR and the Bang Bang Gang. Also announced Darby Allin versus Gabe Kidd. And then the matches that I think everybody's got circled. How about Kyle Fletcher and John Moxley? The winner will advance in this Continental Classic tournament. And on the other side of that bracket is Takeshita and Okada. A lot of people are really, really excited for that one. The winners of those two matches will face off in the finals. And then, of course, we know we've got a 4-way dance for the world title. Samoa Joe taking on all comers, literally. Swerve Strickland, Hangman Adam Page, and somehow, some way, that nothing happening son of a bitch MJF has weaseled his way in again. This is something for everybody. This is AEW at its best, in my opinion. I always feel like they over deliver on pay-per-view, and they're back at Now Arena, the building where a lot of people saw MJF for the very first time at the first All In. You were in a box for that show. Little did we know it was almost the proof of concept for what would become AEW. And they return home this Saturday at AEWTIX.com. It's a big weekend for AEW, don't you think?
Absolutely. And the fans in Chicago are always so wonderful. They love wrestling. They're great. They're very supportive. That's one of, I guess, I don't know if you could say that there's another market in the United States that's stronger than Chicago is for AEW. So it's going to be a hell of a weekend. These are the weekends where you prove yourself. If you want to move up the card, you want to get in the main events more often. How you do it? You have great performances on major events, and this is certainly a major event. The question now arises: who will steal the show? And I guarantee there'll be a bunch of young guys and gals that are looking to do that.
Be sure to check it out. AEW World's End. It's on pay-per-view this Saturday. I'm going to be watching it. I know JR will as well. You can catch it on HBO Max, on Amazon, or ppv.com. I'm telling you, you don't want to miss it. It's a big wrestling week. You've got Wrestle Kingdom next week, but World's End this Saturday, December 27th, live on pay-per-view. I'm fired up, man. Can't wait for it. And I do want to ask you, as we've got a whole bunch of questions, what a banger we start with here from Craig, who says, how has your perspective on wrestling changed in your 50 plus years in the industry? Also, thank you for all the wonderful memories. You were the soundtrack to my escape. Thank you so much, Mr. Ross, the GOAT. So a lot of respect from Craig, but what has changed in your opinion of wrestling and your perspective on wrestling and the way you look at it and approach it and appreciate it in those 50 years? What's the biggest change, Jim?
The speed of the game, Conrad. The speed of the game. Sometimes guys would rather insert the acrobatics and the flying, which sounds good separated from something else, but when you rely on it and you take unnecessary chances, it concerns me. So I would say the speed of the game is the biggest difference. You know, I was watching this weekend on Facebook some old matches. I discovered that there's a lot of cool old Mid-South stuff on Facebook. And I got a kick out of watching that because it took me back to my youth. And God knows we all want to do that. And so I think the speed of the game is, quite frankly, the biggest issue, where there's more sizzle than steak at times.
Let's do another one here. This one comes to us from Skylar Steele, and he says, what are the top 3 biggest mistakes you watched the WWE make? Like if you could go back in time and change the result of a match you disagreed with the finish on, or stop an angle from happening, or tell a wrestler, don't do this, what would they be? So we're not talking about since you've been out of WWE, but when you were there, if you had 3 do-overs in WWE, 3 mistakes you think the company made, what might some of those be?
That's a hard question. I was there a long time, and humans make mistakes. So I don't know how to answer that question, but quite honestly, the game kept speeding up. Back to my first answer. The game kept speeding up, and when the game speeds up, you leave out some details like selling. And so maybe the game could use more selling in a believable, realistic way than not. So that's another answer to your what's changed and what needs to be addressed.
Let's do another one here from Richard James Timothy Kirk. Were you allowed snacks at the commentary table? If so, what did you have? That's a fun one. Did you have snacks?
No, I don't recall us ever having snacks. We were too busy imbibing on hot liquid. I was anyway. Hot tea was my preference. Our hot coffee. As a broadcaster, an old time radio guy told me a long time ago, when you're on the air, don't drink cold. Don't drink cold. Don't drink cold water. Don't drink cold soft drinks. Drink hot. It's better for your throat and it keeps your voice stronger, et cetera, et cetera. So, no snacks. I can promise you, if we had snacks, but we'd have probably sampled them. But doing a lot of TV, Connie, there's not a lot of free time to have a little something to eat. No snacks. We worked in a snack-free zone.
Joel Corbin wants to know, what's the most exciting match you ever called? So that would lean into your personal fandom. And I think we would all understand if it was an older match, maybe when you were more excited and the job was new and all that jazz. Before you became this seasoned pro, there had to be something where you personally were just caught up in the excitement of the match. Does one stand out?
It's hard to pick one match in a 50-year career that stands out. I understand the question, and I understand and I appreciate the participation. I still think back to my most memorable matches. I mean, the Bret Hart Stone Cold match at WrestleMania 13 will always stand out. I thought it was a classic, great storytelling. And then WrestleMania 18, The Rock and Hogan can never be duplicated, obviously, for obvious reasons. Those are great matches. There's been some Shawn Michaels matches that I've liked over the years. We're in a television era. When I was, the question about, well, what about then or what about this? We weren't in a television era then. We were doing television, but still it was a live event based business. And I didn't go to all the live events. I went to all the televisions and some live events, obviously. But it's just hard to say. It was a different feel. It was a different presentation back in the day. It was more basic, more nuts and bolts, more black and blue than it was Fly Through the Air, the Greatest of Ease.
Let's do another one here from Anthony Valdez. If you could go back and have a do-over, what would that be? Like in your own career, was there a misstep that you feel like, with the benefit of hindsight, older, wiser, more seasoned JR would have done a little differently?
I don't believe in going back and saying what if and this and that, because you can't change it. My career had challenges and, interruptions in service, as they say, the cable business, it just wasn't it was a different breed, different feel. So what would I do over? I wouldn't do over anything as far as, I hung around WWE until I got my spot back and I earned it and I enhanced it. I would never probably would never have left Cowboys' side if he had not sold, or I had not sold it for him, but he was burned out. And that's what happens when you have basically a one-man office, and Cowboy was a one-man show. He had some good people around him, but he made all the major decisions, and they're all rested on his big old shoulders. So it's just, it's hard. When you got 50 years behind you, Connie, it's hard to pick out one thing. It really is. And I'm sounding like I'm being evasive, or I don't want to answer something. That's not the case whatsoever. But it's just, it's a different breed of cat, man, today than it was then. And I just don't live in an era of regrets. The only regret that I have is I had great success in WWE. I made a lot of money. Then I got blessed with the fact that Tony Khan hired me to come to work for AEW when I was a free agent. So I don't want to make sure I kept that part of my career intact. I enjoy working for Tony Khan. I enjoy working for AEW, and it's just, I'm doing wrestling again, at least to a certain degree.
Mark Tyler wants to know, what was your favorite pay-per-view you ever called start to finish? And I know you said it's hard to pick one out with all that, but is there one that stands out of just historical significance for you? Like, as a
Yeah,
point of pride, this was my first Starrcade, or this was my first WrestleMania, or does that even exist for you in your fandom anymore?
WrestleMania 17
Mm.
at Astrodome for many reasons. The card, obviously, the location, obviously, because even though I'm an Okie, when I was growing up and being a football mark, that the AFC game on our local Tulsa affiliate was always the Houston Oilers. And so I kind of got to be a fan of the Houston Oilers and Love You Blue and Earl Campbell and Bum Phillips and all that stuff. That was a big thing. My dad and I watched those games. And my dad liked Bum Phillips because he wore cowboy boots and a hat. So I'd say WrestleMania 17 in that Astrodome was my probably my favorite. Let's do it this way: the most memorable WWE pay-per-view that I had an opportunity to work.
Mike wants to know, why do you take the high road when it comes to Vince McMahon being a bully? Boy, that's an interesting question.
Oh, yeah, why not? What should I do? Piss and moan about things I can't change? As human beings, sometimes we spend too much time on things we can't change or fix. And what you do is you regroup and you move on. And that's kind of what my philosophy. I have a lot of blessings. You know, I don't have to work another day of my life if I don't choose to. And I'm not saying that out of egotism or bragging or anything like that. It's just I've been very blessed. You know, old Vince made me a lot of money, and I made a lot of money on the stock. You know, I was one of the original people that got grants that all you had to do is vest, which means you got to stay a certain length of time. I think mine was like 5 years. Well, hell, I wasn't going anywhere. And when it was all said and done, I knew I was going to have a good chunk of change to invest, save, or whatever. So I just don't believe in rehashing shit that I can't change. Why should I put that back in my head and back in my heart, back in my gut, to address a perceived wrong? At the end of the day, really, how bad wrong was it? I can't go there. I won't go there.
Dean Williams says, you get the call to call one more singles match in WWE with the current crop of talent. Who are the two men or women? Is there anybody you look at on the WWE side of things and you think, hey, it'd be cool to call that match? I mean, I know that's not the way your brain works, but you've certainly got favorites over there, I'm sure, like Becky Lynch or Cody or something like that.
Yeah, it'd be a Cody match probably. I have a lot of respect for Becky Lynch. I helped get her a job, and she reminds me of that every time I see her, which is not very often, obviously. But Cody would be on my list of matches to call, and you can just about pick about. There's a lot of guys on the roster that you could select a book with Cody that would give you the match that you were looking for. But you know, since I've known him since he was a little boy, that would be kind of cool.
I totally agree. I love that backstory. Speaking of backstories, Dan has a question. If Vince McMahon had Sting instead of Ultimate Warrior, and Hogan passes that torch in 1990 to Sting,
Yeah.
is there even a WCW for Eric to resurrect in 1995? That's interesting.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Of course. It might not have been as sizzly, it might not have been what we grew to know. But yeah, the wrestling business, I was told this back when I first got in it in 1974, was it? It's hard to kill. It's hard to kill. And maybe it's not impossible to kill. You can lessen the attendance. You can see where the it's business is trending down, but to kill it, it's hard to see that happen. Wrestling's got a long standing fan base and has had generations. I hear that every time, Connie. One of the common things I hear at these autograph shows is, you know, you were the voice of my childhood. I hear that every day, when I'm at one of those places. But I respect that, and I'm honored that's happened. I had a guy. I've had people come where you had 3 generations of JR fans. The dad, his son, who's a young adult, and then a younger kid, and that's kind of cool. I never really thought about it in that way until it started happening on a pretty much regular basis. So it's pretty good. And now the difference in that whole thing is that there's more women that are saying, I was the voice of their childhood. So just wrestling fans, we had a good product, we had great talents, and the big spread, the Monday Night Raw, the Attitude Era, left a lasting impression on a lot of people.
GG All Heart wants to know favorite Memphis memory. Big wrestling town. Could be wrestling, could be Man on the Moon, could be Shoney's, whatever.
It could be barbecue.
Okay. You got a favorite barbecue spot there? Is it Rendezvous?
I'm not a big Rendezvous fan. They put too much sauce on their product, but I've learned that when I go there to eat, I just get the sauce on the side, and then I handle the distribution of the sauce.
I go with the dry rub at Rendezvous.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. It's not as good as mine, but it's good.
Oh no, yours is better.
I enjoy. I've spent many nights at Lawler's mansion, and he's got a mansion. It looks like Graceland, but it's not. But getting to know Jerry, being welcomed to his home, all that's been a great memory. But the food in Memphis is good. And Lawler's got a good barbecue place. And Lawler's got his place down on Beale Street. It's still open, still doing pretty well. So, but I think the local flavor, and I mean that literally, is something I always enjoyed, because I'd always heard about Memphis barbecue. If you hadn't had any, then if you're a barbecue aficionado like I am, like you are, Connie, it's worth a shot. Try it. But Rendezvous is a famous place. A lot of famous people go there, have been there. I just had to learn how to order. Sauce on the side, please. Thank you very much. But the service is great, and it's got a lot of history.
I think my top 3 have always been Rendezvous, City, and Central. Those are probably my 3 go-to barbecue joints.
I've been to all those, and you're right. They're excellent. I had never had a bad meal there.
What's the chicken place? Gus's? Is Gus the chicken place with the yellow cups? It's fantastic.
I don't know that. I know what I know what you're referring to, but I don't know how to answer your question.
Pete wants to know, if you had to guess how many trademark black hats you've gone through in your career, what would the number be?
Not as many as you would think. I've got 3 right now, and that's probably the most I've ever assembled. I get my hats made at a place called Shorty's Cowboy Hattery, and it's located in the Stockyards district in Oklahoma City. And they make them from scratch. They just get the big, the beaver pelt things, and then they do the shaping and all that stuff. That's kind of my go-to in that regard. But Jan didn't know how much they cost, and they're around $1,000 a piece. And so she was giving them away to charities. Until she found out how much they cost, I put the kibosh on that deal. Let's give them something else that don't cost that much money out of our pocket. Let's help them. Let's be good, but let's maybe a shirt or something, but not one of these $1,000 hats. So, but right now I'm down to 3 hats, and that's I don't plan on investing any more money in hats. I'm going to ride the rest of the journey out with those 3.
Hypothetically, if one of your friends from Alabama got you another hat, would you retire an old hat so he could put it behind him on the podcast set here, do you think?
I don't know.
We'll have to work on that. We'll negotiate that.
Might be worth a try. Who knows?
Cheesy Schooner wants to know, what are your top 3 favorite Oklahoma football moments?
The 2000 Orange Bowl, where we won the national championship. Anytime we play Texas on the second Saturday in October and we win. And let me think what the third one might slip in there and be. Of course, I'm a homer, so I'm going to pick something we won. I've had great times at games that we've lost, by the way, in the bowl environment. First time I went to the Rose Bowl, we played Georgia. They beat our ass, but it was a great game. That's another one that I'll always remember. But this past weekend where you guys kicked our ass in Norman, Alabama had an impressive comeback, and that's the first time I went to a game where, as hard as your favorite tried, we could not regain our momentum. Just couldn't get it rolling again. And conversely, on the other side of the fence, Alabama couldn't hardly do anything wrong in that second half. So that's how football works. It's a human game, but I've had so much fun going to OU football. Bob Stoops has been like a godsend to me. I saw him. It all started when I saw him somewhere, maybe having a beer or something during the week after practice and after all the activities. And he said, "You going to the game?" He said, "What do you think about the game?" And said, blah, blah, blah. And I said, "Well, I'm not going." And this little trip's a little rough for me. He said, "Why don't you fly with us?" And I said, "What?" "Yeah, fly on the team plane. You fly with us, sit by me." So I started doing that. And I went to a lot of away games on the OU team plane. So I've had a blessed time as a football fan in Norman.
Well, I got to ask, coming up next, Alabama is going to be going to the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day to challenge not the Oklahoma, but the Indiana team.
Yeah.
They're number one, and it's for a former Saban disciple himself, Signetti. What do you think happens with Indiana and Alabama, Jim?
Well, if Indiana can stay on their roll and play air-free or mostly air-free football, it's hard to pick against them. They haven't been beat. They're the number one team in the country. They got a lot of confidence. But man, oh man, if Alabama can play the game like they played the second half in Norman, I'm going to pick Alabama.
Well,
that'll make you happy.
Yeah, listen, I'd be thrilled. We know that Indiana is a betting favorite, but sometimes they get it wrong. They got it wrong against Oklahoma. I wouldn't have guessed that either. I thought for sure Oklahoma at home was going to get the win, but that didn't wind up being the case. Something that you'll never be wrong about, though, is Blue Chew. Fellas, you already know what time it is. It's time to level up. Blue Chew just dropped something crazy. I'm talking next level championship belt gold plated energy. Blue Chew Gold is the newest innovation from the number one chewable ED brand. This ain't your grandpa's little blue pill. This is the 4-in-1 beast that's setting the gold standard for performance. We're talking 2 ingredients for blood flow that keep that rocket pumping, mixed with apomorphine and oxytocin to turn up the arousal and connection in your brain and body. You see, Blue Chew Gold dissolves under your tongue and it works in as little as 15 minutes. That means you can get it on quicker and stay in the game longer. Elevation without hesitation. This is peak passion and peak performance all in a single tablet. Forget Netflix and chill. This is Netflix and fill. Make your life easier by getting harder and discover your options at bluechew.com. We've got a special deal for our listeners. Get 10% off your first month of Blue Chew Gold with JR as the promo code. That's promo code JR. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast.
Jim, it puts the lead in your pencil, Conrad. It puts the lead in your pencil. And as my daddy would say, but son, you ain't got nobody to write to. So
are you accepting walk-ons now that you're back in Oklahoma?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I don't discriminate whatsoever, but I haven't found the right lady yet. I guess the older you get, sometimes you get less motivated. That's where Blue Chew comes in. You still got to have somebody to write to. And I haven't found anybody I wanted to invest that much time in. That's the bad thing about getting older. You don't give a shit.
I love you for that. What do you think? Next year, can I convince you to do a dating game here on the show?
I don't know about that, but I'd have to see.
What if we had a lot of applications? If we had a lot of applicants and you could take your pick, sort of do an old school match game, why not?
Yeah, you'd be a good Jim Lang.
The old love connection. Hit him with that Chuck Woolery 2 and 2.
Oh God.
Oh yeah, that's the good old days. Brennan wants to know, Jim, what was your worst signing? Who was your? No,
So
let me back that up. He
that's
didn't say
always
what.
that throws
He's,
somebody under the bus. I just people like that, don't they?
well, I thought he meant like autograph signing. Was there an autograph signing from hell? I think you thought he meant talent.
I
So
did.
is there one where you were like, God damn, what a miserable experience this was from an autograph perspective?
Oh, I think maybe the one that we wasted a lot of time on was Tiger Jeet Singh's son. Remember
Tiger
him?
Ali Singh.
Tiger Ali Singh. Yeah, I already forgot his name. Nice kid, good looking, smart. He didn't have the natural ability to connect to the audience. He looked good. He looked the part. It was Vince loved him, and what Vince was looking at was opening up international markets where Tiger Ali Singh would have been a special, a viable option. But it was funny. He wanted to fly when I signed him. He just almost demanded to fly first class, and I didn't. I kicked that idea back because that's not what Vince wanted to do. Vince would have quashed it anyway. So we had a compromise. So in that we had a compromise where he would fly first class on the last leg of his tour. So when he got off the plane in Toronto, that's where he lived, where he's from, he would be with that group of first class passengers that got off the plane first. So people could see him get off the plane first and assume automatically that he was riding in first class, like a star. So we did that for him, and it still didn't work out. Still didn't work out. But I wish that would have worked because he could have made a fortune in international markets without question. But didn't come to be.
Brent Morrison says that Cena, Lesnar, and AJ all move towards the end of their career. What young 20 or 25-year-old has the tools to eventually end up in that group? Who are the best and brightest that are really, really young out there right now, Jim?
Wow. That's hard to answer. The WWE has got a lot of good young talent, but so does AEW. I think MJF has probably a brighter future as anybody in that age group, in that demographic, 20-somethings. He's a natural heel. He's got great charisma and a good worker.
Dominic Mysterio, he probably makes the list, right?
Absolutely. He's been a great surprise. I don't watch their product all the time, but if I don't have what's the thing they do on Mondays for Raw? What network's that?
Netflix.
Yeah, I don't have Netflix. I don't even know how to get it. My daughter said she was going to help me get it, but she forgets and I forget, and it's not like it's a big priority. But they do have a lot of sports, and that's good. And I'll probably end up getting Netflix sooner than later, so I can watch everything they offer.
Kyle Fletcher is probably on your list.
Kyle Fletcher's really good.
Yeah,
he's really good, and he looks good. He's got a good attitude. When I see him, it's yes sir and no sir. I like that. Strokes my enlarged ego. So, but right now the pro wrestling business is in pretty good shape, Connie. As far as the question you ask, are there some 20 somethings that look like they've got a money drawing future? Yeah, there's quite a few of them actually. So I think the TVs they watch, like the Attitude Era and things of that nature, motivated them to set their goals high. And because I get those questions all the time when I go to an AEW event, the kids are anxious to find out what I know about this guy or that guy, or what'd you think about that? They're fans, and I think their fandom has drawn them into the business.
Here's an interesting question from Tweet Wrestling. Jim, what's the best wrestling item that you own? So like of all of your personal collection of memorabilia, is there one item that stands out above all the rest from a wrestling standpoint? I know you got a lot of cool baseball stuff.
And football.
Sure.
Let me think, Connie. I'm thinking maybe So Danny Hodge gave me a copy of the Sports Illustrated from 1957. He signed it, and I was one of his favorites because I drove. He didn't like driving. He'd act like he was falling asleep just to fuck with you. And what are you going to do to Danny Hodge? Nothing. And I tell you this, he had a sweet tooth that was uncontrollable. When he wanted a milkshake and he grabbed your wrist, that hand of his, a little squeezing, you found a Dairy Queen damn quick. He was the Hodge stuff. You know, he was Olympian and never lost as an amateur. And he was the local top baby face in Oklahoma territory area. I loved him. And there's pictures of him and I at the unveiling of his statue in Perry, Oklahoma, which also was the hometown of Jake Hager. But I think some Hodge stuff because it's so rare right now, and he was my favorite. I got a pair of. The other thing I got a pair of Stone Cold Steve Austin's boots that he won his first title in, and that's kind of cool.
You think?
Yeah.
Jim, that's like maybe the low key coolest collectible almost anybody could have, and the idea that you got it and it's your second favorite is awesome.
Well, Hodge was just special, and
I get it.
I was very impressionable in that age and that period of time, and he just meant a lot to me. I mean, if I hadn't been such a fan of Danny Hodge, I might not have drove myself into the pro wrestling business.
Gary wants to know, what would good old JR's WrestleMania dream match be to call? Would it be an old Danny Hodge match? Like if Danny Hodge could have been in a WrestleMania match, Danny Hodge versus who? What would that have been?
Kurt Angle.
Oh, wow. There you go.
I'm a booker at heart. Kurt Angle and Hodge would have had great chemistry. And I'll tell you something, and people will scoff at me. So JR's, he's so senile, man. He said the other day that Hodge could hold his own with Brock Lesnar. You're goddamn right he could hold his own with Brock Lesnar. Why don't you ask people in the business like Jerry Briscoe? And I told Jerry the story one time, and he laughed. He said, they just don't know, do they? I said, no, they don't know. And what they don't know, they just don't know. Hodge was a freak of nature. Hodge would break your wrist, break your arm, break your hand just by squeezing it. And people say, that's impossible, JR. Come on. We ain't going to believe that shit. Well, you don't have to believe it. This podcast is free, so you're not losing any money on this deal. But Hodge was the goddamnedest freak of nature, Conrad, I've ever been around in a wrestling environment.
You're going to have fun with this question from Tico. Jim, what's your retirement storyline?
My retirement storyline. What's that? Explain that to me, Connie. What do you think?
Well, I think good old JR is going to say, Connie, I don't want a damn storyline. I'm an announcer. I'll just say this is my last show and wave, and that's it. But there's no damn story.
Yeah, I don't. That's why I always hated, and I don't like using that term. Why I dislike strongly being involved in angles. The reason the angles were done was because when the goddamn minute by minutes came out and JR was getting his ass whipped, it got ratings. Oh. And as simple as that. Vince saw that. He was astonished at JR's popularity. You know, I saw something the other day, an interview that was done with Todd Grisham. And Todd Grisham was told that as soon as we're going to retire JR at WrestleMania, after WrestleMania, and you're going to be the guy. You're going to be you're taking his spot. And he don't know it yet, so don't tell him. I kind of got things figured out. Oh man, I just soon, I had this crazy dream where I realized I died in a Marriott while I was on the road, and which is not a real healthy dream to have, I guess. But when it's time, it's time. You say goodbye, you say thank you, and you ride off and leave it to some younger guys to take over. And the great thing about my situation versus today's announcers is I had the opportunity to work in a territory. And I had the opportunity to work for various bookers who are all exceptional in-ring talents. And they shared their knowledge with me, and it helped me immensely. So I don't know. I just want to fade away, say good night, thank you, and keep watching wrestling.
Jason has a great question. Would Dr. Death and Terry Gordy have made it as a tag team in the WWF if the timing was right? We saw them in WCW, we saw them in Japan. Could it have worked in the WWF, or was it not Vince's style?
Hell yeah, it would have worked. Absolutely. Two great big bump takers, two 300-pounders that could work, that were physically and mentally tough, who were motivated by money. Damn right it would have worked. Just because they didn't make it through there as a team doesn't mean it wouldn't have worked. Vince is not going to cut off his nose to spite his face type thing. He'd have figured out how to use them. And he had Pat Patterson there. Pat Patterson would have loved booking those guys. You know, Patterson and Ray Stevens are probably one of the greatest tag teams in history in any generation. So he knew what great tag teams needed to have to be successful. Those guys had those elements and those attributes. So damn right they'd have made it. It's been fun to watch. It's been fun to watch. And a lot of the guys would love working with them. And a lot of and some guys would have been afraid that they would get hurt. I don't remember Doc or Terry Gordy ever hurting anybody.
Can you imagine those guys in APA? You want to talk about an ass kicking match? That would have been wild.
It's been fun to watch. Been fun to call.
John Edwards wants to know, what's one lesson that you learned from Ernie Ladd?
You know, I watched a bunch of videos the last couple of days with Ernie involved. Again, Facebook, Mid-South stuff, and psychology in general. You know, Ernie and I had a great relationship and a very unique relationship. You know, I was raised in Adair County, Oklahoma, which had no black people in it whatsoever. It was against the law, if you can believe that shit, for a black person to see the sun set on them in that county. Sad state of affairs. Thank God it's not that way any longer. But we'd go to Shreveport on Tuesdays. Tuesday morning, Cowboy and I would fly down. We'd have a booking meeting with Ernie when he was the booker. And I think Cowboy needed a snack because the meetings end sometimes abruptly. But we all stayed in the Holiday Inn at the airport in Shreveport. And Ernie and I would go back to my room and play dominoes. And we'd play dominoes till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Head up, Ernie and JR. And those are some of the most wonderful times of my life because Ernie was very religious. So he would share his religion and his philosophy in that regard. But what Ernie was the best at was seeing things in talent and how to help tweak them to be better. And he loved getting the heat on heels. If you're a heel and you didn't feel too good about getting that strong heat, you end up being booked down the card. And so I think just in general booking and human nature, because that's all Ernie ever used, human nature. Right now, I said we're not advocating for Facebook, but Ernie, he tells his story in a bunch of those interviews. And he did some interviews with Reeser Bowden. He did some freestanding interviews. But Cowboy always made sure that Ernie had a voice. And Ernie could share his thoughts as a heel or a babyface. And he could do great interviews either way. Either side of the fence, Ernie was good at. I loved Ernie.
Leo
Ernie went to the sorry, Conrad. Ernie after the TVs were the promos are done on Wednesday morning, Cowboy would take Ernie and me to lunch. And we did that for a long, long time. And it had to be, I can't remember the name of it. It was a cafeteria. It might have been Piccadilly or Furs or something like that. And I remember getting in line. I was always the last in line, of course. Cowboy would lead the charge, and there was Ernie. then there's good old JR, and to get our plates from the server. And Cal would get what he's getting, and Ernie would, but Ernie always cut a promo on the guy that was serving the food. And there was a little black man who was who always worked at the cafeteria, and Ernie was bad on eating that prime rib or roast beef, and he'd say, "You're not feeding your little skinny husband. It's the big cat Ernie Ladd. It's the big cat Ernie Ladd. Give me a piece of meat that I can stick to my ribs," or some shit like that. He'd go off, but he made sure he got an extra helping of red meat, and the guy was just the server was just ecstatic to see that. And if it was a female server, that was even better, because he'd say, "This is Ernie Ladd. I'm 6'9". I wear a size 17 boot. I cover the ground that I walks on," and he would talk his way into seconds or thirds. You could eat a lot of red meat, man.
I wish Ernie were here today, because we'd tell him all about Home Chef. You know, now that these days are getting shorter and crisper, we all find ourselves craving some comforting home cooked meals, and Home Chef has made it easy with their oven ready options and their hearty recipes that really hit the spot. And it's all without you ever having to stress over what's for dinner. Home Chef has been rated #1 by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and even recipe ease. Home Chef makes cooking simple. It's fresh food delivered, easy recipes to follow, in meals that actually taste great. And now with Gordon Ramsay's exclusive recipes on the Home Chef menu, you can enjoy 5-star meals without the stress. Choose from Gordon Ramsay's co-branded dishes featured across Home Chef's culinary collection, the classic meal kits and express options, each crafted to make you feel like a chef in your own kitchen. Whatever kind of day it is, whether it's those classic recipes with the fresh ingredients, maybe the 30-minute meals or an oven ready tray, or what about the quick microwave options? That's a favorite for Megan. Home Chef's got you covered. There's even a dedicated family menu for those hassle-free, delicious dinners. And trust me, Home Chef is not one size fits all. They've got over 30 different meal options every week with choices for different diets and tastes. And it's also affordable too. Home Chef customers save an average of $86 a month on their groceries. So not only are you eating better, but you're saving money doing it. Come on, sign up for that. Go right now. For a limited time, Home Chef is offering our listeners 50% off.
Wow.
And free shipping on your first box, plus JR and I's favorite, free dessert for life.
That's God almighty. What a deal, Conrad. That's a hell of a deal. Think about it. Half off, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Count me in on that deal.
Go right now, homechef.com/JR. That's homechef.com/JR. You'll get 50% off your first box and free dessert for life. That's homechef.com/JR. Of course, you must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert, but Jim, that's got mine and your name written all over it right there, doesn't it?
You damn right it does, man. Folks, that's a hell of a deal. Think about that. And you know, it might be late now because Christmas is here, but for gifts and holidays,
yeah, people love this.
What a gift idea.
Yeah.
Golly, what a gift idea. So check it out. Think about it. You ain't got to worry. Is it going to taste good, JR? Is it okay? It's great.
Yes.
And they give you the instructions to make it idiot proof.
Yes.
So I love that company, and they do a great job for us, and you'll like it too. Give it a shot, try it, and you'll see. And for guys like me that are single, shit, man, it's the way to go.
Check them out, homechef.com/JR. Jake the Weasel has a great question. He says, if the Great Muta would have been in the WWF instead of WCW during that time, with Mr. Fuji as his mouthpiece alongside Demolition, how effective and successful could he and that faction have been? Would that have worked? Great Muta in WWE?
Well, Muta's an amazing talent. He'd work in any territory, but I'm not going to compare Gary Hart with Mr. Fuji. Gary Hart was one of the supreme managers of all time. And I like Mr. Fuji. He was probably best known for his ribs. And I'm not talking about baby backs. But no, I don't know. I don't know. Gary Hart took good care of Muta. he looked after him and all that. So I'd have to probably say no on that one.
Do you think there was a different universe and a different timeline? Would Vince have ever really pushed Great Muta? We know that at different times he's had incredible international talent, but the inability to cut a promo in English that maybe wowed Vince was always going to be
that was a deal breaker. You got to be able to talk.
Yeah.
And that's a blanket statement that's applicable, certainly more so today probably than ever, is you got to be able to talk to be a successful money-making pro wrestler. You got to be able to express yourself, tell a story, entice the audience to, follow you closer, support you stronger, buy your merch, buy your tickets, all that stuff. So, but the thing about McMahon, he had Patterson there. Let's not forget he had Patterson there, and Patterson do talent. I learned a lot from Pat Patterson, skills, and he just he had a philosophy that was almost error free. And he, like anybody else, myself included, you make mistakes sometimes, and who you hire. You think they're going to be better than they are, but they're not. This in today's world, he probably would be a lot more amenable to a Great Muta being a star, but he'd have to learn to speak some English to get that chance. Look at what's that kid's name? I saw him when I did Wrestle Kingdom, and I told Hunter about him, and they hired him. But when they hired him, they didn't do much with him. What's the kid's name? The Japanese kid,
Nakamura.
Nakamura.
Yeah.
Shinsuke.
Yeah.
Shinsuke Nakamura, believe it or not, reminded me of Freddie Mercury. Amazing charisma. He made little things big, but I don't know that he would have got that same opportunity in the older Attitude Era WWE, WWF than. But today he probably would if he could speak some English and do a promo. The thing about it, you don't have to do a 10-minute promo. Go get your sound bites in, say what you need to say, and move on. So, but you can't discount talent, and that's the one thing I'll say about McMahon is that more often than not, he was right on the talent that he saddled up to ride. Now he may have unsaddled them too early, or he may have ridden them too long. That's just human error. But he's not going to overlook or ignore talent. And certainly Muta had great talent.
Here's a fascinating question you and I have never spent any time on. Taylor wants to know, what does JR think Magnum TA would have been doing during the Attitude Era if he was never in the car accident? He would have been in his prime during those years. So let's remind everybody, he has the accident in 86.
Yeah.
If we think about, he was born in 59, so he would have turned 40 in 99. So he would have been late 30s in the WWF or WCW during the boom of the Monday Night Wars. So he would have been prime, peak, at the top of his game at that 38, 39, 40-year-old mark. That's when a lot of wrestlers have their big main events and so forth. Do you think he would have hung around in WCW and been, a big star for them? Is there an alternate universe where Vince would have really liked Magnum TA? And because we know that Magnum was really close friends with Dusty, and even Dusty went to work for Vince in 1989 and 90. And what do you think? Is that possible? What would that have looked like, Magnum TA in the Attitude Era?
I think Magnum would have been, he'd have got a little run as a babyface, but his big money would be a heel working with Stone Cold. That had a great wrestling match. And Magnum knew how to be a heel. He would have been a wrestling heel. He'd have cheated to gain an unfair advantage, but Austin would love working with him. Magnum didn't hurt anybody. And that would have been a great era. That would have been another great opponent for Austin.
It's interesting to think through that new generation era too. If he would have been in the WWF or WCW, Is he working with the Stings and the Lex Lugers and the Dungeon of Dooms over on the WCW side of thing, or is he in there with the Razor and the Diesel? And I mean, because if you got to assume if he does go to the WWF, then they're going to change his name and give him some sort of different gimmick or persona.
Probably,
Yeah,
but maybe not, but probably. I just think that he liked glitz and glamour.
yeah.
He liked the sizzle. I think that's why Dusty appealed to him so much, because the dream was loaded with sizzle.
Yeah.
And I think and where do you see the most sizzle? WWE, not in that era, not in WCW.
Greg Spence says, on a large or small scale, what ultimately gets an ass every 18 inches in a wrestling venue? What is the primary motivator, do you think, that gets fans to open up their wallet and crank the car and go pay for parking and go see a show in person? What's the number one motivator?
You make it challenging because there's a lot of money being spent before you ever get in your seat. I would say, now ask me that question again.
What is the number one motivator that gets people to buy a ticket?
Personal investment, buying in, where you don't like the heels and you respect the baby faces. It's a mental thing, psychological. That's what draws money. Personal issues that are clearly understood with two guys or two teams that are unselfish, and they just click. It's got to be a personal issue, and I got to understand why they're doing it. Why are these guys pissed at each other, and why are they beating the hell out of each other? So personal issues sell tickets.
Junior wants to know, who was the biggest nuisance in the Mid-South locker room?
Oh man,
it was a pain in the ass to everybody.
Yeah. Well, the thing about that, to answer that question, I mean, there's answers that are subjective, I suppose, but the guys that were pain in the asses didn't last long enough to get familiar with them, because Cowboy didn't put up with that shit. You know, he had a set of rules and they weren't negotiable. And he had good bookers. He had, Jack Curtis was on the road as an agent. Jack was a second or third generation wrestler from Mississippi. Jack had a good handle on the locker room. So did Ernie. So did Dundee. Wasn't bad. Dundee was a real good booker. I don't know how strong Dundee was with the discipline, but fine, I assume. I don't remember us having any major issues. Ken Mantell was a little lax in that regard. He kind of ran a looser ship, but we didn't have too many problem makers. We had some problem solvers, but we didn't have too many problem makers. Quite frankly, there were some there, Connie. They're obvious human. There were some there, but not an overabundance of shit disturbers.
I don't know why, but that tickles me that you didn't have problem makers. You had problem solvers. That's fun.
Yeah.
Here's one. Joe Parker wants to know, if you had the power to do so, what would be the one thing in the wrestling business you would change and why? Change one thing, Jim. What would it be?
Less flying and more wrestling. How's that?
I like that.
Less flying. Now, when I say that, they say, well, JR's lived in the past. People don't want to see the headlock for 30 minutes. I've never said I want to see a headlock for 30 fucking minutes. All I'm saying is the name of the game is wrestling. Wrestling is a matter of utilizing holes, escaping from them, and pinning predicaments and things like that. It's not, because here's the deal. Guys wrestle so fast, Conrad, that they'll do some beautiful moves, flying moves, but then they're off to the next thing. I don't get a chance to let it soak in and feel it and enjoy it and be all in awe by it. Be respectful of it, because it's head scissor drop kick, arm drag, tope, blah, 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 over the top rope here. But I never got a chance to feel all the great things that you're doing. And this is exactly what I've told a lot of talent. You do some great shit, but you do so much of it, I can't stop and appreciate it.
Great question. Appreciate that one. Here's another good one. 90s kid KCP. Phenomenal question. With the hindsight being 2020, if JR had become the executive producer of WCW in 93, what would he have done differently than Eric Bischoff? So let's start with the big major moves. Do you think you would have scrapped house shows, or would you have kept those going, even if you knew they were a money loser?
I'd have kept the house shows, at least some.
Yeah.
You got to have a place for the guys to go practice, so to speak.
Would you have tried to shoot TV in Disney?
I don't know. I don't know the financial arrangements there. If it was going to get us a syndicated show on TV that was okay, nothing's going to replace the TVS exposure. But if we'd have got a syndicated show on TV and we save money, production costs, by having everybody congregate in Orlando or wherever it may be for these tapings, that's not a bad reason for doing it. See, I don't think Eric did a bad job. I can't go say, well, I'd have done that, I'd have done this, I'd have pushed this guy. I just wouldn't have. But
well, here's the big question. Would you have made the play for Hulk Hogan in 94?
I don't know. If I thought it was going to upset the pay structure tremendously, I would have been reluctant. But to say I would not have done it would be erroneous. The one thing that I would not have done is give any talent creator control.
Right.
I just think that's a kiss of death. How can they be objective if they are calling their own shots and producing their own matches and booking their own finishes? And how fair is that to their opponent, their dancing partner? So, but you'd be stupid. It's like Tony Chimmel announcing Sting or something. I would have. You don't turn down an opportunity to utilize Hogan if his mind is right and he's willing to play team ball. I don't know. I didn't know him well enough to know if he would be willing to compromise on a few things like the creator control thing or not. I don't know. But you don't turn down an opportunity to entertain the thought of signing Hulk Hogan if you can.
Would you have considered turning Hulk Hogan heel?
Yeah, hell yeah. Everybody's got to be a heel at some point if they're a long-term babyface. Yeah. You saw how it worked.
It worked out just fine, I think.
It worked out just fine.
When you think about Monday Nitro, do you think you would have tried to go head-to-head with Monday Night Raw?
Well, if that's what Ted seemingly wanted, that Ted Turner, and if that's what Ted Turner wanted, that's what I'd have done. It would not have been my ideal scenario, but if that's what the company ordered, let's go fight.
Would you have looked internationally and tried to expand the cruiserweight division, or do you think it would have been a more okay?
Yes, absolutely. A lot of those smaller guys became viable members of the WWE roster when I was head of talent relations. They could perform. And again, I don't measure talent by inches and pounds. Do you touch the audience? Do you bring the audience in? Everybody's different. Every story's different. How would you have booked Eddie Guerrero differently than you booked Chris Benoit? I don't know. Depends on what was on the table. But I sure as hell had a spot for him.
Kayfabe, aka Greg, has a phenomenal question. We've never talked about this. Greatly appreciate this question. When Mark Calloway left WCW to go to the WWF, he was Mean Mark Callis, of course. But you said on the air that he left to, quote, go join the circus. Were those your words, or were you told to say that?
No, that's my words. Me being a wise ass.
Yeah.
I was very competitive. And, they had clowns and different things. And they didn't do as much wrestling as I would like personally. And I had a lot of my peers agreed with that. But that was a wise ass remark for me, just be flippant. And I wish I'd never said it.
Tinfoil Consortium says, of all the bookers you worked with, who was, in your opinion, the best, and who was, in your opinion, the worst?
Well, Pat Patterson was the best. Are you surprised?
No, I mean, I kind of am curious if you can give us any context. Why do you think Pat Patterson was the best?
Because he had the vision to make talents better by tweaking their game.
Okay.
And he never lost sight of good versus evil. And you got to have good versus evil. You got to have baby faces and heels more often than not. Not 100% of the time, but unless a certain situation comes up or a unique situation comes up, you got to have a baby face and a heel. A good guy and a bad guy, a hero and a villain, blah, blah, blah. Patterson was amazing in that respect. Cowboy was an unbelievable booker. Ernie Ladd was an unbelievable booker. Bill Dundee repurposed a lot of the ideas that he had done in Memphis. Of course, we didn't get Memphis TV, so it was new again. And that was smart. Smart of Cowboy to hire Bill Dundee, who did a great job. And, Dundee is a lot like a lot of guys. He's got that, you mentioned Jerry Lawler and my buddy, the King, wanted to have one more match. Well, Dundee was kind of that way. He wanted to have another match. He wanted to work. And he was a hell of a good worker. But Cowboy didn't want his booker working until Cowboy relented and allowed Dundee to work some matches. And he always did a good job. But Dundee was a good booker. I'd say Pat Patterson and Cowboy Bill Watts are the two best bookers that I worked with off the top of my head, to be honest with you.
And now a question that, I can't wait for you to tackle. Anthony Valadez says, what's a misconception about you in the industry that you'd like to clear up once and for all?
Well, recently I heard that D-Von Dudley thought I was a racist.
You know what? On that note, I'm so glad you brought this up. I thought it might be helpful if we play the clip. I want to give some people some context. I know that you and I, Jim, have drawn some criticism online for not addressing this prior to now. Yeah. We touched on it at the top of the show, but as that interview with Maven and Bubba Ray Dudley went live, JR was in the fight for his life in a hospital bed. Now, no fault to those guys. They didn't know that.
No.
But I didn't feel like it was my place to speak on your behalf or address it or not. So I made the executive decision. We're not going to bother JR with this at all right now and just let him focus on getting well and getting better. Mm-hmm. And now that we're back in the thick of things and we are doing an Ask JR Anything, this question came up multiple times. So I called Jim before we went live today to record this. And I said, hey, we're getting this question a lot and you and I never talked about it. And you gave me your answer. And I said, wait, hang on. We'll do it on the air, but I want to give some proper context. So I know that what we're about to do is going to be quoted everywhere. So I want to make sure that we're being factual. So I think I had Silva pull the audio. We'll play that clip of what D-Von said and we'll have good old JR respond. Let's take a listen.
Sure.
First day that we ever got together, that we ever experienced or you ever experienced racism?
No, I didn't experience it when we were together because of the fact that when we got together, we were in ECW. And in ECW, I did not experience it. I experienced it in WWE. I experienced it with certain top officials who I don't really want to go and say any names because I feel...
Say names.
Well, I'm just going to say it like this, I didn't wear a 10-gallon hat or anything, but my point was, when a person...
Go Sooners!
Yeah. But when a person comes up to you and tells you that they don't like you because of the color of your skin, and you're sitting up there going, wow, really? We're in 1999, 2000, and you're still coming to me and saying crap like this? There were certain people in that organization in that time that felt that I should not have said anything, who had power to basically bury me, if need be, just because I might have stood up for what I felt was right.
So, Jim, I'll give you a chance to respond.
Well,
D-Von alleges that you said, I don't like you because of the color of your skin.
That's so absurd. It's not even, it doesn't merit a response. I like D-Von. I like him today. I hired he and Bubba. I thought we did a good job of booking them. They made money. They were put in situations where they could do the things they do best. those TLC matches were pieces of art. They'll last forever. The Dudleys are a major part of that. Bubba, I know Bubba for sure because I've heard it. Was involved in the booking of that stuff, and I don't know. I was shocked to hear that because I don't recall, Conrad, ever having a crossword with D-Von Dudley. I always respected him and his work. I love the Dudley tag team. So it took me totally off guard. I never said that to D-Von Dudley. And why he would conjure up that, I guess to get attention. Maybe I thought, well, maybe he's not as happy with his post wrestling life as Bubba is, because Bubba's made a tremendous success of himself as a broadcaster, and still works. So I never said that, and I wish it had not. Some people, I'm sure, are going to still believe it, and that's their prerogative. But I'm not angry at D-Von. I'm curious and don't understand why he went there. Just don't get it.
Jim, respectfully, when I first heard it, I didn't think he was talking about you. I thought maybe Maven had jumped to a conclusion. Because we've seen MVP do other promos about different WWE executives or interviews about other WWE executives, and he never names names specifically, but we can all sort of deduce who he's talking about. And then in more recent months, he's started to say names out loud. So I just assumed, oh, this must be what he's talking about, because never have I ever heard that accusation lobbed your way. And I know that sometimes you get lumped in because we know that at different points, people have been disappointed in things that Bill Watts has said.
Yeah.
But never has anyone, that almost feels like guilt by association. Never has anyone that, as far as I know, made an allegation like this in your career. And it feels like if it was going to come up, it may have come up before now.
You'd think.
So,
You'd think, Connie. But I'm sorry that we said we're going to answer any questions.
yes.
And we don't lie to our audience.
Yes.
We respect them and we love them and we appreciate their business and supporting our show. But I can honestly say, at my age and health situations and everything else, I got nothing to gain by saying, yeah, I said that one time. I really regret it. I never said it. But in any event, I still have great respect for D-Von, and I'm glad that we got to work together. But I never uttered those words. Yeah, ask some of the African American athletes that I signed. Ask Shelton Benjamin. If JYD was here, ask him. Butch
You
Reed.
just talked about Ernie Ladd for a half hour in this show.
I loved Ernie, and Ernie taught me so much. But one of the things that he taught me was how to effectively work with African Americans, and he was just amazing. And I owe Ernie, who's pretty much a 6'9" black man, a lot, and I feel blessed that I got the chance to know him and work with him. But there's a lot of I always had great respect for those guys that we hired, and you got to respect them or it ain't gonna work. And I respected D-Von. I respect D-Von Dudley today. I wish that we had not had to cross this bridge that doesn't even exist.
I don't think D-Von would classify himself as a fan of yours, but I'm a fan of the Dudley Boys. A couple of years ago, me and my best buddy Dre, we dressed up as the Dudley Boys and had a blast with it. I have trolled some of my friends who are not ECW fans, like Beltmaker Dave Milliken. I would always ask him, hey, who's the greatest tag team of all time and why is it the Dudley Boys? So I hold the Dudleys in really, really high regard. And I've only met D-Von a few times, but he's always been just the best, 10 out of 10. I'm curious, do you think are you interested in having a conversation with D-Von? Would you go have some barbecue with him one day, or where is that with you?
If he was buying, I might.
Well, that's fair.
Hey, if it came up, I wouldn't boycott that opportunity, but I wouldn't go seek it out either. I haven't seen D-Von in years and years. Maybe I should. I don't know. But I'm not mad at him. I just don't. I'm puzzled by why he said what he said.
Well, we're puzzled why you haven't already checked out jrsbbq.com. Maybe you missed that last minute stocking stuffer, but there's still somebody in your life that you owe a Christmas present to. And let me just tell you, you're going to give them the gift that keeps on giving when you check out jrsbbq.com. You're going to find that all-purpose seasoning tastes good on literally whatever you put it on. Your eggs, your popcorn, your chicken, your fish, your steak, your pork, whatever. It's fantastic stuff. It's a staple in my household. You're going to absolutely love it. He's also got the hot sauce. He's got jerky in stock. And
we got a new shipment of hot sauce too. So it's, and the bottles are not as big. So they ship lighter. And you know, how much hot sauce you're going to, you know, we had those great big bottles. So we downsized them a little bit. But the hot sauce is in stock. We got some new caps, these crimson tide colored caps, and those black ones that I've worn the black one on here a few times. But here's the deal. It costs nothing to look. jrsbbq.com. You can see the whole thing, stress-free. And Stephen Link is going to have some great specials up there. So I signed a bunch of books. They're signed items. It's a very unique website, and I hope that you'll, out of the love in your heart, will check it out and just do some looking, and we'll have some great offers after Christmas as well.
You don't want to miss it. It's going to be the place to be. It's jrsbbq.com. Of course, this weekend is AEW World's End. I can't wait to talk about that with you next week, Jim. We're also going to talk about the big moments in 2025, the predictions for 2026. We'll get JR's New Year's resolutions. And I'm sure by this time next week, the internet will have had a field day with JR finally responding to D-Von's podcast earlier this year. I appreciate all the time, Jim, and I hope you and all of our listeners have a very safe and happy and healthy Merry Christmas. And I know you're looking forward to the family coming to see you as folks are listening to this tomorrow on the 26th. I hope you guys have a great time.
Yeah, my daughter's my oldest daughter comes over every Sunday and brings me food like I'm an invalid, and I just act like I'm an invalid because I like her cooking. I have food in my refrigerator now. She brings it over. She cooks me different meals, puts it in this Tupperware stuff, and I'm treated like a king for my own children, which is great. And why not? But my kids are coming over. She told me Sunday, I'm bringing you cornbread dressing.
Oh gosh, listen to you.
Yeah, I almost cried. It's just amazing. So her husband, my son-in-law, is quite the grill master. And he's going to smoke a brisket. So we're going to have brisket and dressing. And I don't know what she's showing me something else she's going to bring. But when she hit me with the dressing, I kind of went into another place. So I don't know what all she said, but I know brisket and dressing are on the menu. So I will have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas. It'll be on December 26th for me. Other than that, I'll be right here enjoying some basketball. I'll watch the Thunder play, and I'll enjoy some football. But I'm sad that I don't have, what did you say that? Prime Video? No.
Netflix.
Netflix, yeah. That's what you should get me for Christmas, Conrad, Netflix.
You know what? I can swing that. And you know what? Thanks to, unfortunately, during your most recent health situation, I got not one, but both of your daughter's phone numbers, and I'll make sure that I send them the login info. Baby, you're hooked up. You're getting Netflix this weekend. Congratulations.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Stan is such a nice man. So it's all good. But I enjoy doing this show so much. It's great therapy. You know, when I was sick and we weren't recording, I missed it. And so I plan on doing, I may be off TV somewhere sooner than later, but I'm not going to be off podcasting. It's just a great way to express yourself and to feel what the audience is thinking, where their interest is. So all good stuff, man. Life is good, and I'm alive, and God bless. I'm happy that I am. So, and I appreciate you, Conrad, you and Dave. I know Dave's had a traumatic situation with losing his father. I understand how that feels. I get it. I was working in Stanford, Connecticut at the time. Boy, that's a bad call to get. And you get a call and somebody says we've life flighted your dad to the Tulsa to the hospital, St. Francis Hospital, and I'll keep you posted. And then in about 20 minutes, my phone rings again in Connecticut, and they lost him. So he's 64 years old.
Wow.
So yeah. So I'm my birthday's January 3rd, and I'll be a little older than 64. I was born in 1952. So I'm on house money right now and loving every damn minute of it.
Well, we love having you with us. We hope everybody has a very happy Christmas and a very merry new year. And we'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Tell a friend. It's grillingjr.com. We'll see you next week right here with the voice of professional wrestling, Mr. Jim Ross.
Thanks, Conrad. Happy holiday, everybody. Love you.